Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, all praises, honor, and glory be unto Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakai Kodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders at Great Millstone who taught us this truth and who rule well. Peace and love, salutations and mercy be unto the hopeful elect. It's February 27th, 2022, the year of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai turning up. And you know what's going on. You know, the situation with Russia and with Ukraine, and how Russia, is trying to take back, Ukraine, which was once part of the USSR, which is the Union of the Soviet Socialist Republic, and also known as the Soviet Union, which when they had that Iron Curtain, and those are all of the states like Georgia, East Germany, Kazakhstan, and many other nations that were part of the Soviet Union. Russia was major. They were big, they were a superpower, and they want to be that superpower again. But it's Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai that's working on the mind, of the leaders of Russia, namely Putin, to be in that spirit, to turn back into that mind state of how they were during the Soviet Union. So there's a push that they're doing militarily, to invade Ukraine, in which they have, and to take it over. I came across this article on RT, and it says China speaks out against sanctions over Ukraine. It says China said on Saturday that the Western sanctions slapped on Russia over its military operation in Ukraine would not solve the crisis. Many countries have imposed sweeping restrictions on Moscow, hitting its banks, trade, and largest airline. Among other things, Foreign Minister Wang Yi made his comments during a phone call with the German counterpart, Annalena Baerbock. According to the Chinese foreign minister, Wang said China doesn't support the use of sanctions to solve problems, and even more so opposes unilateral sanctions that have no basis in international law. It's been long proven that sanctions not only fail to solve existing problems, but create new ones, resulting lose-lose effects on the economy and interfering in the process of political settlement, he added, which is true. So these particular sanctions that they're putting on them are not going to do anything but aggravate them. But when you go into the scriptures, Isaiah 13 and 17 is one of the go-to scriptures every time this topic comes up, because the Lord is putting the spirit within the Medes, Gog and Magog, which is the biblical names that Russia is called by today. It says in Isaiah 13 and 17, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. So they're at the point where they don't care, about these sanctions. They don't care, about money. All right. In their spirit, in their mind, all right, what they're being set up to do is to fulfill what Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai set them up to do in prophecy. So going to the book of Ezekiel 38 and 4, it says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. So what does it mean to turn them back and put hooks into thy jaws? When you put hooks or brittles within an animal's jaws, you're able to control that animal. All right, you can steer them in whatever direction you want them to go in, such as the example that's given in the book of Isaiah 37 and 29 concerning Shalmaneser, king of Assyria. Because thy rage against me and thy tumult is come up into mine ears, therefore will I put my hooks into thy nose and my bridle in thy lips, and I will turn thee back by the way by which thou camest. So when you put a bridle into an animal's mouth, or when you put a hook into an animal's nose, you're able to control that animal and steer them in the direction that you want them to go, in the direction that Yahweh Bashmi Awashai wants Russia to go in. He wants them to be in that spirit, in that mind state that they were in during the time of the Soviet Union. All right, during the time of the Warsaw Pact, when all of these nations came together, on that particular region and side of the earth, to counter, NATO, that was established in 1949, which NATO was set up to counter the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union had their own thing on their side, so eventually all of this will culminate into a great war and a great conflict that is going to happen upon the earth. All right, but right now we're seeing, Gog and Magog, all right, which is Russia, go back to that state that they were in. Now, here's another article from the RT. It says European Commission head says EU wants Ukraine in. So if they allow Ukraine to join them, that's going to lead to more division in Europe, because there's countries within Europe that benefit from Russia. All right, they benefit from trading with Russia. They benefit from, natural gas from Russia. All right, and one that's coming to mind, is Germany. So watch out for this situation causing more division, all right, within Europe, all right, because right now, all right, Europe is already divided anyway, all right, and eventually it's going to escalate to, the 10 toes, or the 10 horns being against NATO as well as being against the whore. Now, going to the book of Daniel, the 2nd chapter, and going down to the 40th verse, I believe is good to start there. It says, "In the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdue all things. And as iron that breaketh all things shall it break in pieces and bruise." So this is speaking about, the Roman Empire, which is in power, but the Roman Empire fell. So the Roman Empire was in power from about 168 BC all the way up until like 476 AD. And then eventually it fell, but then it came back into power. And not only did it come back into power, but those 10 horns that is upon the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns, they came back into power as well. And it says within the scripture, reading on, it says, "And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes," you have 5 toes on each foot. All right, but together it makes 10 toes. Those represent the 10 horns, all right, which are those European nations, preferably the ones that were the first ones that were a part of the European Union. So it goes on to say, "And whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes, part of the potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay." So there's division, all right, within the European Union, because that's who this is speaking about. All right, it's speaking about Europe, but it's divided. There's division. You have some nations that are strong. You have some nations that are weak. You have some nations that are rich. You have some nations that are poor. You have some nations that have certain geopolitical views, and then you have others that are against it. So there's already division there. But this situation in which, the EU is trying to bring in Kyiv or Ukraine to be a part of the European Union. That's going to further drive that division. And the scripture says, when you go into the book of Matthew, all right, go into the book of Matthew, the 12th chapter and the 25th verse. It says, and Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every house divided against itself shall not stand. So they're divided against themselves. So that thing is going to fall, as well as the beast and as well as the whore. And we're seeing the build up to something major, all right, within the earth. So this has really been the year of the turn up. And the last thing that we're looking for before this situation, all right, really blows up into World War III is the MOTB system to be implemented. All right, once that system is implemented, then that's it. Now, when it comes down to, the EU, all right, or the 10 horns, the time is going to come where they themselves are going to turn on NATO as well as turning on America. When you go to the book of Revelations, the 17th chapter, and beginning at verse 12, it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as of yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength to the beast. Reading on, it says, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and Kings of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto them, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Revelation 17 and 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So the time is going to come when they're going to turn on them. All right. And they themselves are going to shoot ICBM missiles over here to Babylon to destroy it. So with that, I truly hope that this lesson has been edifying. All praises, honor, and glory be unto Yahweh Bashmi Awashai. A double honors to our apostles and elders at Great Millstone. Peace and love, salutations and mercy be unto the hopeful elect. A shalom and a bad babah.